Hello and welcome back to another episode of MotoGP 21. We are down to the final three races in today's episode. We will be off to Australia, a track I really need a strong result at to bounce back after a crash in Thailand. I'm pretty good at this track. I love it. It should suit the Suzuki with long flowing corners and not too many long straights. So I am pinpointing this as one of the three tracks left. This in Sepang, I should be good. Valencia, bit of a pain, but anyway, let's jump on over to qualifying. So here we are, 12 seconds left in Q2, and we are coming down at a serious race of knots into turn 1, into dunes. This is a simply stunning track, one of the best tracks in the world, if not the best. But I made the wrong tyre decision looking back at this. I went for a hard rear and I did a few laps on it, and this lap was pretty poor, so I ended up not getting pole, whereas I probably should have had the pace for it. I ended up, I think, P3. But here we are in turn 4, the old Honda hairpin. The hard rear just isn't doing it for me. I wanted to test out for the race, so I wanted to push it in qualifying, and I still did a good lap time with it. It's just there's way too many mistakes in it, and I lost so much on all the corner exits. But true here now, where you're at high speed, you don't really lose that much with it, but as you see, it's just pumping a lot. And coming into Lukey Heights there again, it's just not great. But we're pretty much into the final sector. You can see it's drifting up and over Lukey's and then down into MG. And there's a big car park there, I think 4 riders down. That kind of threw my eye line. You see I turn in touch early for turn 11. Then I'm very wide on exit, and coming into the final corner, I know I'm going to need an absolute brilliant final corner, and I squared off quite well, and we get pretty good drive again. Just that hard rear tyre doesn't do it for me, and we end up, I think, P3. So Miller takes a home podium and Fabio is in P2. Now you will notice there's an arrow to the fuel. I didn't change the fuel. It had 3/4 of a tank, and I did not realise that at the time. So keep an eye on my power mode down the bottom, because at the start of the race I didn't realise it. It becomes an issue later in the race. You'll see in a second. But as we barrel down to turn 1, we get a decent start. Mir just pips around the outside, but as we tip in, we hit a bump and we have a huge moment, and we run out onto the grass. But it lost the front, and we were in deep shit there for a second, because that was almost another DNF. That would have been 0, and that probably would have been the championship. And now, of course, we're in P23. Fabio's in the lead, and we are low on fuel. We only have 2/3 of a tank, and we have 9 laps to go, so we're a bit under fueled. So we're going to have to do a lot of fuel saving and a lot of aggressive riding to make up these positions. I'm comfortable that I will, as I give Davi a bit of a shove wide, just a bit of a late apex. He just didn't pick it up, and I just kind of ran him wide, but I'm pretty confident that I can get myself back into the top 10. But it's such a fast track that when you go offline, you have moments like that there when I just bounced off the curb. But yeah, what a disappointing this race. This should have been a race win for me, because I am much quicker than DI around here. But now we're going to have to put it into practice. But you can see again, coming into MG, we decided to go for a different line, and we just lose time. And it's very hard to make. There's just ever so close, you can't really outbrake them, because you just T-bone the rider in front of you. So we're trying here in the final corner to get underneath Petrucci, and we do, and we get a track limiter on here. It's a bit of a bullshit one, if you ask me, because I didn't even touch the grass, but we managed to get better drive than Frankie, and up the inside of Maverick we go. We use a bit of power 3. This is still before I realise it, and again hit that bump, and again losing the front twice in 2 laps. That was even bigger because we lost the front twice, and I don't know how he stayed on there really. That was just all luck. No skill, all luck. I'm gladly saying that was luck. I couldn't do anything about that. I was just lucky that my front Michelin just had enough grip on it. But now back to the action. Coming around Stoners, we're in pretty deep. We're just going to sit Rossi up. He gives us a space, in fairness to him. That's Miguel Oliveira as well, running deep. We got pretty good exit. We're going to try it around the outside into Siberia. And we're going to hold it around the outside of an Bastianini on the GP19 of Vinti Ducati. Just get a touch of a wheelie, and as we come through here the hay shade, we should just about see him out, and we do. Now we have the Marquezes in front of me. Marc Marquez followed by his brother Alex. We managed to get good drive on Marc Marquez, and we're almost on the back of Alex, but we just can't. We go to the inside, and again we have it. That was a huge moment, touching the grass there. That should have been a crash. Turn 1 is being a bit of a nightmare, and we just get under a late in southern loop there, and we just sit him up, and that is P11. Now you can see we've half a tank of fuel left, and we have more than half the race left. So this is where I start to notice my fuel was urgent, and you'll see me in the next couple of seconds or so putting it down into power 1. But we make up more positions here. We get past Taka Nakagami, and we managed to get around the outside of Mir, the man who was pretty much, I wouldn't say at fault, but he was part of the reason why I ran off track at the start of the race, Mir. So he might be after losing me this championship, but he's after having a bad race himself as we push Brad Binder out of the way, and that is P7. So the recovery ride, that we're just on the limit here, that we're just making so many uncharacteristic mistakes. You can see now we are in power 1 once we realise that we're a lap and a half under. So we are pretty tight for fuel. But once again we managed to pass Binder. We just managed to hold the inside line and kind of see him to the outside. Next up now is Mir. Again, this is the third attempt at passing Mir, and we've pretty much crashed twice since we passed this guy, so hopefully we can do it a bit cleaner this time around. He's been a bit of a bad luck for us. Come down to turn 1. This time I just take a slightly wider line. The bump is still there, you still have the moment, but it's not as bad. But coming in now to the southern loop, and again we just go to the inside, just move from slightly off the line and just block his line back, and we pick up the Suzuki, and we are through into P7. So up next now is the other Suzuki in 5th of Alex Rins and Jorge Martin in P6. Here we are now on the back of Alex Rins, and he runs a tiny bit deep there. We go for the inside line, but we just don't get the traction. Another mistake as well I made, you might notice my front brake is stone cold, and that was really hampering my pace. I couldn't really brake deep. But we're here now on lap 5, and we're pretty much bang on for fuel according to the numbers. But looking at the fuel tank, it still looks a little bit low. I don't believe that number is accurate, so we're going to keep it. We're trying to basically save up as much as we can, so that in the later part of the laps and last few laps we can use it to overtake people. But quarter of a tank, go another 4 laps. That's about a third of the race till we've left to go, so I'm still skeptical. But we managed to just pick Zarco up onto the curb there, and that is P5. Martin has passed both of them and jumped onto the back of Pecco, and unfortunately for me it is still Fabio in the lead. We are the fastest man on track, and we're consistently the fastest, but it's just too many bikes in front of us. Now we get to lap 7 here, and you can see we're under a quarter of a tank. We haven't used power 2 since. It's still on power 1, and we're not saving back the fuel, so we are going to be nip and tuck here. Are we going to make it on the fuel? It's pretty annoying because it wasn't my decision. I didn't change the fuel, I just didn't spot that the game didn't fill the bike for some reason. A bit of a weird glitch. Got a lot of glitches unfortunately in this series. But as we come now to start the penultimate lap, Pecco and Jorge Martin are battling front, but because we're in power 1 and we have a cold front brake, our pace is pretty equal to them, so we really struggle to pull them in. I'm taking a lot of liberties, but it looks like it's going to be at best for me a P5 unless one of the front men have a tyre issue and start falling back or crash themselves, but it's looking unlikely as of right now. So we've just under 2 laps remaining. The right side of both my tyres is no more. Our front brake is stone cold. So into this corner here now, into Honda hairpin, you'll just see braking and I get absolutely no bite, and it just gets up to temperature as I hit the apex, but it's too late then, because as soon as you get off the brakes they'll go cold again. So unfortunately this track is right by the coast, so the track temperatures are pretty cold even on a hot day like today. And it's not a really heavy braking track, it's a lot of flowing pieces of track where you just throw the bike in, not heavy on the brakes. And yeah, that really is hampering my performance unfortunately. Especially in just these slow corners, you just don't have any front bite, and you see that's where I should have the bite there. You just see I just blow the apex ever so slightly, and I'm on pretty good pace here. I've taken a small bit of time out of them, but as you can see, the fuel is looking scarily low. We have a 1.4 gap to Rins behind, and we have a quick look over our shoulder, because at this point now we are fretting, worrying about the fuel. because that is not enough to do a full lap of this track. It says under 0.1 under, which means it's just enough. You'll just run out as you cross the line is what the game is telling me. I was starting to think here, as I run very wide, millimeters close to that white line, that could have been another crash. But I've kind of given up the charge now on the guys in front. I'm trying to drop my pace slowly and maybe just try and condole and save a bit of fuel if I could, but I'm not too sure the game even allows you to save fuel. So I'm trying to keep it in higher gears, but again we absolutely blow Honda hairpin here. Just have no front end braking performance at the moment. And look, there is a sliver of fuel left in this bike. I am in hot water. So I'm thinking we're going to, at this point in the race, I'm thinking we're going to run out coming into the last corner, which would be a nightmare because it's such a fast piece of track. We'd lose so much time. But as we come into Lukey Heights for the final time, P5 is easily done if we don't run out of fuel. But look at it now, it's saying 0, keeps changing back, so the game doesn't even know if I'm going to make it. But the fuel tank looks to be empty. We have one corner left. Are we going to run out? It hasn't gone yet. You can see we pick up the throttle and we're out of fuel. Rins is going to get us. We pull out of the way because we didn't want to crash. The two of them, are they going to get us? No, we end up in P6 and then we have a huge crash. So what a disaster of a race. We come home to fast lap in P6. Fabio wins it after the race in Thailand. We have 2 races now to pull back 21 points. We're down to 3rd in the championship. I think the championship is done now after that race. I really do. I don't think 21 points is something I can get back in 2 races. I need to take... I have to win both races and he has to be off the podium. Unfortunately, I don't see myself winning it now. And we are 6 points clear of Ducati in the constructors still. So P4 for Rizal and Hernandez comes home in P10. Decent for a result from them. Now it does say Valencia here, but again I'm having weird glitches where they keep telling me the races to the next race. So I actually have Sepang now, and then we are off to Valencia for the final race of the season. But 21 points with 2 races to go is... I'm going to need a mistake from Fabio, 100%. I'm going to have to be... At the moment, it's nip and tuck between me and Bagnaia. I mightn't even be able to get 2nd in this championship. So it's going to be tough regardless what I do. But the focus is go out in Sepang and just absolutely dominate. Pull away, clock out and win. That's the goal. And then in Valencia, if we have to do a bit of a 2013 Lorenzo where we back the pack up and hopefully others can get in on it, we'll see. But we can hope that Sepang isn't good to Yamaha and we can maybe get a result there. But anyway, I am going to end today's episode. Up next will be the penultimate round in Sepang, Malaysia. We might actually have a bit of weather as well there because Malaysia is known to have a few monsoons sweeping in during the race weekend, so that could spice up even more. I'd actually like a wet one because I think that might aid the Ducatis and Suzukis and maybe struggle the Yamahas. But I am going to leave there. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. It has been a bit of a crazy one, but I shall see you all in the next one. Thank you all for watching. Bye bye.